thank you so much for talking to us today. I just read that the September sales of Mercedes-Benz in India has been pre-COVID levels. So congratulations. I think it also shows that there is buoyancy coming back to the Indian economy. Just want to understand from you, what are you seeing in the trenches here in India?
Well, yes, you see me quite positive after a very difficult time span, say from April, May, reaching into June. We have then from July onwards seen every month the market coming back. And that was, I would say, in step with the overall sentiment in the country as well. The businesses were opening up. We were getting more stability in the business world itself. And a lot of our customers are obviously business owners, and their main concern is first about their families, their business, their employees. That has, I think now, there is some level of stability now and some visibility. And that has, together with the festive season, created, I think, quite a positive sentiment. So September, October, we have seen really good numbers, which are not exactly on last year's numbers. I have to correct you a little bit there, but we're talking around 90% of the volumes we are having. And that is already something which I would say slightly exceeds what we had hoped for, because I mean, a couple of months ago, who would know how the whole thing pans out? And now with the situation getting apparently better under control and more stable. I wouldn't call it normal, but stable, and stability is obviously very helpful. So you see me slightly optimistic, or maybe cautiously optimistic, that we have found now a ground to move on from.
Yeah, I think it's overall also encouraging signs for the country, because the segment that you are in, the luxury segment, if it is showing movement, that means there is a movement overall in the economy. Martin, I also read that now you are manufacturing in India. Tell us about that, because that's a very significant step again for the country, that someone like you is now localizing the production here.
We have already for many years. Yeah, I mean, we India for 25 years, and we have been producing a wide range of our vehicles. We have so far had 10 products localized. What we did now is we added our AMG, our performance cars. For the first time, we do the high-end sportive cars, and we launched yesterday the GLC AMG 43. So that is a coupe, which is a very sporty but still useful car. And we think, we still believe that there is a mid and long-term trend in India, which is very positive. And what we're seeing at the moment is more, let me say, a temporary setback, and we come back to stability going forward. So overall, we have invested in India 2,600 crore, but our recent investments is around 400 crore there, to set up the current production for AMG and for our new SUVs, which we have rolled out.
Martin, besides the investment that you've made in India, I also have to congratulate you in so fluently talking about crores, because that means you have localized. You're talking the Indian rupee and the numbers. Thank you. Because I was looking at how to convert.
That's not so difficult. I have in my mind, I have to admit, even though more than 2 years here in the country, I still do a little background calculation to make sure that I'm not fumbling the numbers. And try quickly to realign with, a rough estimate against my Euro brain. That's usually helpful to make sure that I'm not completely off in what I'm saying.
No. But it also shows your leadership and efforts to integrate and be local in the market. And Martin, the other question I had, I was talking to one of the unicorns here in India, Ola, the founder of Ola recently, and he was talking about the future of mobility, and the conversation was around on how different things, autonomous, EV, everything is going to be defining how we consume mobility. I want to understand, what's your view on this, and how are you seeing India play a role in your future decisions, and what you would be doing in these spaces?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very broad question to be answered here. I mean, obviously, the entire auto industry is in a big transformation at the moment, and that hits several areas. It hits everything around, say, connectivity, internet, connected vehicles. It is around also a lot about electrification and sustainability there. So that's another major stream. And then you come to also questions of ownership when you talk about Ola as well. I mean, it's about sharing and what is the ownership proposition. So that's a full field of transformation that's happening. My view is that India is still a developing market in that sense that a lot of new technologies are coming, and we will also expect that, say, the tech savvy and the very progressive Indian customer will also want to participate and push the market in these areas. And we see obviously quite a few Indian startups which are very strong, but on the other hand, we see also for us now a potential to go in some of the areas. We have been the first luxury car manufacturer who launched now an electric vehicle with our EQC just a few weeks ago, because we believe also in India it's getting more important and more relevant for many people to talk about sustainability, reduce pollution, CO2 footprint. These questions are not only political topics, but they're also more and more household matters. And I would almost want to say the current situation shows us our relation to nature to some extent, and it creates a lot of awareness as well with individuals. So we clearly see India is a market which will develop in these areas, in electrification, but also in connectivity. I mean, it's very tech savvy. We launched more than a year ago our connected vehicles, Mercedes Me Connect, and all our new cars are coming now with what we call Mercedes-Benz UX, user experience. But we also offer solution for cars which are going back to 2011 with an adapter to connect them to their owners. So we believe the tech savviness, the way also luxury products are being looked at, we need to be there at the forefront of these developments. And it's always our aim not only maybe to lead in numbers, but also to lead in terms of what customers can expect from us as Mercedes.
Yeah, Martin, Mercedes is an iconic brand. It's an if I may say so, it's an iconic company. We all have looked up to this across the world. I want to understand, when it comes to luxury and your understanding of how Indians behave and consume luxury products, have you seen any kind of a different behavior the way we buy cars when it comes to
well, I think generally speaking, Indians are very much of an investing nature. I mean, their highest priority is still to a large extent to invest. And I think that is also something which to some extent slows down the actual consumption. And at the end, even though I tend to think our cars are really made for life and you invest into something, still it's more the area of consumption. And I think what is still in development is that Indians start enjoying their lives also, and they benefit of what they have and they spend on themselves. So I would see over the years now, and obviously I'm not here to vouch for what was 10 years ago, but I rely there on my colleagues, on our dealer partners and so on. So I think there is a trend which is visible that customers or say Indians in general are also considering more and more to spend on themselves and then enjoy their life as they have it, and not only being very much focused on investing and building a business for the future. And I think that will certainly help also the luxury industry as such, because then the benefit of being associated with a brand, of having superior products, is then also translated into sales, which is obviously my job to make sure that this happens. So in that sense, I think there is a difference in customer behavior. On the other hand, what I find very remarkable is the strength of the brand. Our brand is extremely strong. And when I came first time to India and you meet people, even say random people in the airport or customers, I would always feel the strong love for the brand and the attraction our brand has. And there I'm talking Mercedes. But at the same time, when I get to the group of, say, the performance car fans, then we have AMG as a brand. I find very dedicated lovers of the AMG brand. So we see that Mercedes is very well positioned here, and customers would expect from us obviously superior products, and at the same time a brand experience which is outstanding. And I think that is a very high obligation to follow through. But for sure, that's something I think which is maybe even higher the aspiration there than in many other markets.
Martin, you would have heard here in India now that you're here, helming Mercedes-Benz India, that we have a joke, right? In India, in most households or with friends, there's this joke that, hey, if you're doing well, then why don't you buy a Mercedes, right? Like now you've arrived, then you have to buy this car that shows that you've arrived in life. But coming back, has there been any kind of a different community? Because you have a strong brand, you have strong product, it is iconic, but are you doing any different kind of communication specific to Indian audience, or have you customized, or did you study the consumer behavior and did anything particular or different here in Indian market in terms of communication?
There's a couple of things which are different in India. I mean, Indians are very much, they look for value for money, and that's even in a high-end product. So we have to make sure that whatever we offer really creates that value for money. And that's on the one hand, the product itself, but it goes into the service and so on. So that's surely something which we need to do. And I think one of our best examples in that is the success of our long wheelbase E-Class, which has found a lot of customers with a roomy car is our best-selling model as well. And it's a little bit the paramount of offering value for money here, I would say. On the other hand, we also know that Indians have different usages. We have self-driving and we have being driven. And so the driver-operated vehicle is more prevalent in India than it is in many other markets. So what you have to offer then is a product and a communication which is around this. So everything we do needs to take cognizance of the fact that the owner maybe drive the car, maybe 100% or 20% or not at all. And that creates a different framework when it comes, for example, to the comfort a customer would expect in the second seat row. Again, our E-Class, but also with our long wheelbase GLE, we could achieve that. And with the new GLS, a strong focus and dedication also to the second seat row in terms of functionality and comfort. At the same time, not forgetting sportiness and driving attitude when it comes to the driver. So that makes it to some extent a little bit more difficult, because in many markets you will be fine just having the driver and the passenger seat very well equipped, and in the rear seat you expect there's a couple of kids or no kids. Yeah, so that's a different setup than if you have the owner sitting in the back who has definitely different expectations. So there is some Indian specifics which we then obviously implement also in our product lineup. But while I'm talking, I would also think there is a different way to approach the brand. We have a strongly connected population. And when I think, for example, of our e-commerce initiatives we had in the last couple of months and the success, I would think we are one of the markets, the highest percentage who has e-commerce related sales transactions now worldwide. Obviously not in absolute numbers, but in relative numbers, we're much higher than many other markets. And that also shows a different approach, an openness to new technology, and also to the need for being available 24/7, so to say, for the customer. So there is definitely, I think, a high commitment that the brand needs to give to its customers, and that exceeds, in my view, in many aspects, what you would see in other markets.
Yeah. Because of the pandemic, because of this unfortunate pandemic, have you seen any kind of a change in the way people are buying? And have you seen an acceleration in digital sales?
Yeah, I tried to say that just now. Already we have seen a very strong push towards e-commerce and digital sales. We have launched a little bit over a year ago our e-commerce platform, and we populated it slowly with used cars, pre-owned cars first. But
Okay.
then in April, when the situation got very strong, we were really able to scale it up rapidly to bring it into to have all our new car inventory online available. So you will see really dealer by dealer every car available in the market. And you can transact, and that means you can everything from getting online consultation to actually do big booking or to do financing options. So we have today, when we launched last year in October, very slowly, and then we said by 2025, we think 25% of our sales should go via an online channel. Right now, we're in the area of 15 to 20%. Yeah, that's a year later. So if you ask me, yes, I think it has massively accelerated in the action with the brand. And it has shown that obviously you don't only have to provide a website, you also have to have a concierge functions on the other hand, that you can do an assistant sale, for example. Not all customers just want to go click, click, click. They will still want to get, for example, a test drive organized from their home, or they would want to have a financing, or they want to have a video guidance, and they would want help and support. So it's around creating an entire process around the e-commerce transaction. And I think we pushed a lot of efforts in the last couple of months to make that available, which has then also facilitated these higher numbers than we would maybe have thought a year ago. So in my view, it has really worked as an accelerator. I don't think we will get to much higher numbers when, you may say, okay, now it's already 15-20%, so next year it's 40%. I don't think so. I think we have seen an acceleration, and now we learn how to further improve, but the initial boost is there, and it's now we need to make sure that we stay connected with the customers and further expand our contact with the customer here. Well, having said that, and I'm talking fast here, but it's not all about e-commerce. At the end, it's about making it work together with the dealerships. And that's why I also would want to point out our e-commerce activities. They very much hand in hand with every single dealership. Every dealer has his own representation in the e-commerce website and can directly influence what's happening there. So, and there's a direct link then between the customer and the dealer. So it's not some, say, anonymous, random approach. You really hook up with the dealer. And I think that's what is necessary for an Indian luxury customer as well. On the one hand, they want to be tech savvy. They want to interact at 10 o'clock at night. On the other hand, they want individual contact, and they want, say, the opportunity to talk to sales consultants or management at the dealership. So there is a lot of this combined functionality, and that's why I'm very clear. It's not that e-commerce will sort of replace the brick and mortar. I think for us, for sure, it will rather embrace it and work together in hopefully more and more joint or seamless interaction.
Yeah. When you were answering this, I was just thinking that the new word which I'm hearing now is blended models, where, the online and the offline will blend.
Yeah, you can call it branded. I mean, we tend to say seamless because it's really the customer is, we need to be where the customer is, and he is on his couch in the evening, he is in his car during the day. He is in the showroom if he really wants to see the physical metal. Yeah, so we need to make sure that we can be where the customer is, and obviously try to. And that's why I think seamless is maybe the even better word, to make sure that there is no disconnect. That it's still clear that he doesn't have to start from scratch when he comes to the showroom, or everything starts again. When he sits in the car instead of has his cell phone instead of his computer or whatever. Yeah. So at the end, it's about making sure that the customer feels kind of at home and is contacted where he or she is at the point in time.
Yeah, yeah. Martin, when you're answering, I sense a very deep understanding of Indian customers in you and your team. I want to understand this, and this is for all the people who will be watching you. The place that you are in, the brand that you have, it's very easy to have, because things have worked in a certain way, it is an iconic brand, to continue the way you're doing things. Do you instill a sense in the organization here when you are in different geographies, in different market, and particularly I'm talking now about India, that you have this some kind of a framework that, hey, we are going to be listening a lot more attentively to what the consumers say and get that feedback into the way we operate? Do you have some framework?
Of course, I think at the end, as much as we can talk about our own intention, it's very important to listen to what the market tells us. And that is the customers directly. So we have different customer forums where we also try to assess what they wish from a product side, what they wish from a support and a customer experience side. And I think for us, very strong indicator is our communication with our dealers, who are essentially the front line to the customers in many instances, and really to listen to them. Because obviously, and you know that there is quite differences between the regions in India. India is widespread, and the customer in Delhi will not certainly, but some likeliness he is a different, or she is a different person than you would find in Kochi. Yeah, so that is certainly true that there is differences, and that means also different approach to the different markets. Even though there is a lot of commonality for us, again, it's important that we listen to the customers, and in many instances, I think with my team together, we have these moments we think of what we want, and then there's also a moment we basically stop and I say to them, listen, let's stop for a second thinking of what we want. Let's discuss what the customer wants. And I can tell you that's actually the hard part, because very often we just assume what we do is good for the customer, but obviously we are here to make money in the first place. And it requires, and I think we do that frequently, we basically stop thinking of our own business. We are asking now, what does the customer want? And how can we bring that in line? And I think that is the challenge at the end. I cannot only do what the customer likes, because then I don't make any money. Yeah, but we have to ask ourselves, and that means in the process and working together with our teams, with our dealers, we have from time to time really stop, and I think we do that and say, okay, now that's good for us, but is that good for the customer? Or otherwise, customer wants this. Can we really entertain that? What would be the impact on us? So at the end, it's always some sort of balancing act, but I would clearly think over the years, the focus towards looking what the customer wants has drastically increased compared to years ago.
Yeah. Because the customer wants are also changing so rapidly in this new world that we are living in. Martin, what if I have to ask you as the leader, as someone who is, he's responsible, if I may say so, for the growth of Mercedes-Benz and in the country, in India. What has been your learnings being in this market? As a leader, as a professional?
Yeah, there's many learnings. Obviously, I mentioned already, it takes some time to fully grasp, and I would not pretend that I fully grasp how India ticks. The learning from a personal side is there. Obviously, you have to rely on your teams, and that's predominantly, obviously, the team I directly work with. You have to listen to customers and to dealers, and that is, I think, very important, because there you get a lot of learnings in that sense. And if I stay on another personal note here as well, certainly one big learning is for me the cultural differences, but also the the friendliness and the strong connect with Indian people. I found it, and I find it very easy to relate. And I see how important it also is to relate to people, because at the end, these relationships are essential for not only living, but also for doing business in India. So that's for sure a big, how can I say, learning here. So for sure, that's something I personally look at. As an organization, there's obviously also a lot of learnings, but that is on different dimensions.
Yeah. Last, I want to ask you, as Mercedes-Benz in India, are you looking at, or are you already uh, conversing with innovation that is happening in the country? And I would say particularly with respect to startups, is there something that you're doing to engage with the startup community here in the country?
Yes, we have quite a few activities. However, my colleague Manu Saleh from Mercedes-Benz R&D in Bangalore has the lead. We have a couple of thousand development in IT functions here in India. It's the biggest R&D center outside of Germany. And they have a lot of initiatives, one which is running under the header of Startup Autobahn, where it's about creating partnerships and work together with upcoming startups to find out solutions, what they can contribute, what we can learn to essentially our business and at the end. So we have a very strong footprint from an RD perspective. And there is a lot of interaction then also, and I think that's why this setting up in Bangalore makes a lot of sense because of the environment there and the possibility to interact with the local community, the tech community there. So I can clearly say there's a very strong focus and also a strong focus in local development, and be it with startups or being ourselves the startup. I mean, a lot of functions are actually done by our colleagues in Bangalore, and that they contribute to a large extent. For example, when we talk about connectivity, MBUX, a large portion of the functionalities, the features, the questions how to deal with it is developed and researched and developed in Bangalore.
Yeah. And before I let you go, pandemic has affected all of us, and we don't know when is the vaccine coming. If you had to say, as a leader, as someone, and tell the other leaders and young leaders in the country, in India, how do you navigate? Because it's been such an uncertain world that we're all living in, and the world that you operate in has also been affected so much. How do you navigate in amongst so much of uncertainty?
Well, that is a very difficult question, but I think at the end it's a mix between brain and gut. Yeah, so I think it is important to listen to the different aspects, and there I would always rely very much on my direct team. And again, to our colleagues in the markets, if I look into that to get a feeling of what's developing and what are the different aspects. And then I would rather think I'm a little bit from the scientific side. Yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out now, and I think that's a good approach to see what are the different options. And then at the end, to come to, if possible, a common conviction. Yeah, it's not, I think that the leader runs alone and knows what to do. There's an African saying which I very much like. It says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others. And I think there's a lot of the truth in that, because in these times you have to get together the opinions, and then I think it's important to create a common understanding of what is to be done now, and that will also carry us then through. And then you have the stability also to react on that. So I would think that's at least my approach. On the one hand, get facts together, get the team together, and at the end try to get a consensus, and that will always involve some gut feeling whether that's the right thing to do or not. It is very difficult to be deterministic or say completely KPI based. So you have to create your common understanding and your feeling on where you're going to. And I would think that is what we try to do. And I would think so far it worked to a certain extent. It will never make us completely it will never resolve all issues, but I think it creates a good base for dealing with problems.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been a very good conversation.